like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands from which we are meeting today and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Hello, my name is Belinda Howell and I'm a member of the Cultural Diversity Committee of Women on Boards. Leadership in this country is predominantly seen from a Western European perspective, indeed an Anglo-Celtic perspective in most cases. And I would like to advocate for a more expansive view, one that recognises that leadership qualities may be expressed very differently in different cultures. We can have blind spots about potential and capability that prevent people from outside these mainstream cultures being able to participate fully in our institutions. It's an embarrassment to Australia that the ranks of senior leadership and boards so inadequately reflect the cultural diversity of our nation. And it is shameful that our First Nations peoples are so little represented. Spotlight on Diversity is a series celebrating the achievements of culturally diverse women and an opportunity to learn some of the challenges they face. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Nicole Brown, a proud Larrakia and Malak Malak woman from Darwin. Nicole is an Indigenous leader who wears many hats: corporate executive, entrepreneur, changemaker, and board member. Nicole, you're an exceptionally busy woman. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of the Spotlight on Diversity series for Women on Boards. So, Nicole, could we start by hearing about your career and the boards that you serve on?
Belinda, I'm not even sure where to start. I guess my leadership journey has evolved over time. I believe the spark ignited in me 10 years ago when I gave birth to my child. He's now 10, and I saw myself through his eyes the day that he was born. You know, who is his mother? What does she do? How would he see me in 20 years' time? What legacy would I leave for him? And again, coming back, it ignited a spark within me to be a very strong leader for my people, to be that voice for those that didn't have it. And I guess, again, it evolved into where I am today. I feel a force to be reckoned with, a leader with a strong voice, someone that people want to hear from, to listen to walk a journey with, alongside, together, holding hands. It really opened my eyes up to a lot of different aspects of being a First Nations person that I was quite naive to before that. I walk in two worlds. I have an Indigenous mother and a non-Indigenous father. So I understand both sides of the equation. I respect my non-Indigenous heritage and have embraced my Indigenous heritage. So if you were to ask me, I'm going to identify as an Aboriginal Australian. It's something that just fills my heart with pride and makes me me. This journey has led me down a path of wanting to sit around tables to ensure people are educated on First Nations history, culture, language, education. For me, it's been a beautiful journey, and I feel like I'm at a space in time right now where I really want to and need to be. It's a really powerful space to kind of sit in, and there's such an appetite for reconciliation from more broadly all of Australia. I think we've just come to a point in time where we need to walk together. We need to find an end goal where we can all live in harmony. And yeah, there's just so much recognition of us as Indigenous people and the original inhabitants of this land, and it feels so good. It makes me feel proud. It makes me want to achieve more and, again, sit around those tables and start succession planning, start finding tomorrow's leaders so that we can bring them along on this journey and ensure they're educated enough to continue really, really important conversations. My core values are my young people, so First Nations youth, First Nations women, my community, and economic development. So there are a lot of things that I work on in my community that touch on one of those different areas of values for me. And I feel like the boards that I'm sitting on have a lot of impact in those 4 areas. I've been really, really lucky to sit on a diverse, array of different boards or different committees. And I found that the time is right. The time is right for my people to be around those tables where decisions are being made about our people. We are our subject matter experts on music and language, culture, art, food. It's important that board diversity includes First Nations people that are subject matter experts relating to those boards.
That's a wonderful positioning and wonderful and inspiring statement of who you are and what you're trying to achieve. I'm wondering if we could just go back a little bit and think of Nicole as a girl at school. Did you have any of those aspirations then? Did you have any role models, or was this genuinely something that welled up inside of you once you had your child?
Again, naively, just kind of going along with things. When I was in school, there wasn't a lot taught in the curriculum about First Nations people, about history, about colonisation. So again, I think I more so embraced my non-Indigenous heritage at that point in my life. Having my child back in 2011 awakened something in me. I can't explain it. Awakened the desire to pass knowledge on to my child that I didn't have.
Right.
So again, some self-discovery, some research, some me asking more questions of elders within my own family, understanding that people that shared the same bloodline as me, had footsteps in the ground before me. A couple of years ago, was very lucky through my work to attend my maternal grandmother's country. I hadn't been there for 23 years at that stage. That is the Daly River, so 3 hours south of Darwin. And actually 2 hours south of Darwin. Driving towards country, I took my mum with me and my son, and emotion engulfed me. I can't even find a word. Engulfed, encapsulated. I'd never felt that kind of feeling before. It was a very much homecoming. It was going out there and really, really, it hit home. It just hit me like a freight train that somebody that shared the same blood as me, walked that earth before me. And it was a really powerful moment in my life. Prior to that, I could see burnout. I was doing a lot. I was the go-to for everything in, Indigenous spaces. If I couldn't do something, I would know somebody that could. So I felt very culturally obligated to be that leader for my person. So at that time, it felt like a little bit of a burden. It felt, again, like I could see burnout. Everybody was coming to me for this, that, and this and that. And I felt overwhelmed. So going out to country, reconnecting with the ground. I can't describe it. Reconnecting with people around me, it really made me weigh up what I was doing. At the time, I felt a little bit tokenistic. I was on some different boards and some different committees, and again, being culturally obligated as the go-to person for this and that, I could see burnout, and I didn't like that feeling. So going down to the river, again, it's a place of very fond memories with me. I visited it with my grandmother when she was alive. I did a lot of reflection and really kind of put up some walls, and I said, if you don't get me at Indigenous youth, Indigenous women, my community, or economic development for my people, you don't get me. I couldn't be that go-to person for health and education and sport and business. I had to really focus on what my values were, because that's where boards would get the most value out of me. So then it's been a beautiful journey. There's been a lot of women that have really impacted my journey. My mother, my greatest champion, has, really gone above and beyond to help me and my son. I'm a single mum, so she's made it possible for me to do what I do, and I love her dearly for that. There's other amazing women, Leanne Little, so she's the 2022 Northern Territory Australian of the Year finalist. Trailblazers like her, and Nova Paris and Lenore Dembski here in the Northern Territory. Look, there are some women out there that are really championing for my era, my age group, to be that voice. Lauren Ganley, she's one of my mentors, and she's at the top of her game with Telstra and opening doors for me, opening doors. It's a flow-on effect. So I feel empowered by the generation that's walked before me, and I'm hoping that through their leadership and through their journey, I can then go and inspire the next generation.
Wow, there's a lot there, a lot of wisdom packed into that. And when you tell me that this only started essentially 10 years ago, I'm in awe of what you fitted into 10 years. Could you give us a snapshot of the actual organisations you've worked for and some of the boards you've been on in that period? And if you can remember, how did it first happen that you were selected to be on a board?
I think it started kind of more in that committee space. I dipped my toes into some different committees. Going back, I look at the Women in Resources Northern Territory. At the time, I was working in the resources industry. So being part of a group of women that supported each other, that facilitated networking opportunities, that, just really wanted to share each other's experiences with one another. I think that might have been my first foray into that board committee type of space. From then, I joined the Minerals Council of Australia Northern Territory committee here in Darwin. So that was really, I guess, advocating for women in that minerals and energy space. The journey has taken me to completing the AICD course. I was very fortunate to be a director of my local TO group here, so Traditional Owner Group, the Larrakia Nation Aboriginal Corporation. I held the position of deputy chairperson, and that was one that really fulfilled me. That was one that really drove me as a proud Larrakia person to want to make sure that here on our country, the utmost respect was paid to Larrakia in all facets of life. We would lead discussions, we would lead celebrations, and I loved it. I loved being around such a strong board of men and women of different ages with different backgrounds, but expertise in some really, really good areas. And I felt that was a really good experience for me. That also afforded me the opportunity to sit on some other boards as their representative. And again, going back to my values, right now I am looking at boards that strategically align with those. So I'm a director of Indigenous Women and Mining and Resources Australia. Again, something that's very close to my heart, having worked in the mining and resources industry and promoting women, finding ways for women to fit into that industry, holding companies to account, walking that journey with them. Those that have the appetite for reconciliation and employing women, retaining women, training women, creating work-life balance for women, having really important conversations so that they could see as First Nations people how different our journeys were.
That's very impressive. An impressive list of boards for such a short period of time. In our conversations earlier, you alluded to some boards having been less positive experiences in terms of being able to get the best out of you. Can you tell me about what makes it possible for a board to get the best out of you and which ones haven't been so successful? What hasn't been right?
Some boards that I've sat on, I felt very challenged. I felt my voice wasn't being heard.
Mm-hmm.
And again, reflecting, I felt very tokenistic, very much a seat filler. I was there to tick the box, and it didn't leave me feeling good. And I'd gone through, again, a period of reflection where I felt that if I wasn't adding value, what was the point of me being there? It, again, was a bit of a life-changing moment. It was, again, where I aligned those values. If they're not aligned, it's harder to get it out of me. I could talk all day, every day on youth, women, community and economic development. But, yeah, I felt that there was, again, a bit of cultural obligation in play that Nicole needs to be on this, or we need to have a First Nations person on this, but they weren't being authentic in the way that they engaged. So it left me feeling a little bit hurt. It left me questioning meaningful engagement.
Yes.
And it left me questioning transparency. I think the board space is a difficult one to be in. It's, we're not all going to be aligned. We're not all going to be in agreement on X, Y, or Z. But an effective board has a good leader, leads by example, and encourages diverse conversation, no matter how difficult it might be. And I feel that the makeup of a good board needs to be diverse, male, female, age, demographic, nationality. We're all Australians in one way or another. We're all, we're a multicultural society. We all have different core beliefs and values. And I think as individuals, that's what makes us unique. That's the value add that we all bring to the table, our shared experiences, but our different journeys also. I see some lovely boards, some very functioning boards that I've been on that really deliver, and I've been lucky enough to be part of subcommittees of boards that fill those board roles, that go out there and headhunt who's missing, where are the gaps. And, that's a journey in itself as well, being able to identify where in our board are we not functioning that well, and finding people that fill those particular gaps.
So having been burnt a few times, how do you now approach when people come to you and say, we'd like you on our board, Nicole? What sort of due diligence do you do on them?
I'm pretty picky and choosy at the moment, and I'm quite fortunate enough to do that. Again, on this beautiful 10, almost 11-year journey of leadership, in such a small place like Darwin, everybody knows everybody, knows the business that people are doing. So when people approach me, it's, what benefit can I add to this business, this organisation, this group, this committee? And does it align with my values?
Yeah.
It's really, again, as a single mum, every decision that I make, every extra hour I do as a volunteer, whether it be in my personal capacity, whether it be on a board or a committee, whether it's playing a sport, that's time away from my child. So it really has to be aligned or of some passion to me to get me away from my child. It's been a difficult one, and where I'm evolving, I guess, in my business journey, I'm finding less and less time. I'm finding I have less and less time to be able to participate on things like boards. So anything I do take on needs to be meaningful.
Okay. You've used the word leadership a few times, and I think it's a really important word for so many levels in companies and businesses. What would you like other cultures to know about Indigenous leadership practices, or how Indigenous people think about leadership?
I think we're quite different as leaders. I've I've been very, again, on my journey of finding myself, watching a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different leaders, finding inspirational quotes. But to me, as a leader, it's very focused on community. Probably about 12 months ago, again, another life-changing moment for me, the currency in my life shifted. So I was quite driven by money at the time. I wanted a comfortable life. I wanted to be able to travel with my son. I think COVID played a bit of a part in changing that currency to where now it's community, it's
Right.
people. So I'm striving more for seeing positive outcomes in my community. I have found a job that I love, a company that I can get out of bed every day to go to work, and I guess feel very satisfied in what I do professionally, that it opens the door for me to be able to volunteer a lot more time within my community. So, yeah, again, this beautiful leadership journey as First Nations people centres around our community, our family. For me, it's making sure others are afforded opportunities. I often talk about being on a train at this point in my life that's going full speed ahead, and it's going to this amazing place, because that's how I feel right now. And I'm trying my best to pull everybody onto this train, saying, come with me, you know, because that's how my leadership journey has evolved, where there are people doing very similar things to me who, in maybe a Western world, could be looked at competitors, but in a First Nations world, I don't look at it like that. They're my sisters and my aunties and my friends, and I want to see them win as well. So for me as a leader in my own community, it's about making sure those in my ecosystem are winning as much as me.
Well, that's such a beautiful philosophy, very beautiful philosophy, and I think quite different from the philosophy of many other people. Earlier when we were speaking, I heard you use the word succession. And we talked about that before, that you're concerned about succession. And in one sense, that's a little bit strange to me, because you've only been in these roles for 10 years and you're a very young woman. So it seems it seems rather premature to be thinking about succession. But you told me that it was not premature. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Look, in the First Nations space, we're always acutely aware of who's around us. Each year I start my year off with a word that will define, I guess, my year. This year it's a phrase, so I'm making it happen. In the past, I've used words like collaboration, journey, strategy, and I feel that in the space I'm in, I've been lucky again to have some beautiful role models. We, as First Nations people, are very focused, I feel, on the future. I'm only 37, but I'm acutely aware that I won't be here forever. And I want to make sure that there are others around me that are empowered. I have a very small ecosystem of women that support one another, and we encourage one another. And in that succession planning, I'm looking at the next me. I'm potentially not going to be in Darwin forever. I have dreams and ambitions of moving to New York and working for the United Nations. So I'm acutely aware that I may be here for another 2 to 4 years, but that's it.
Yes.
So who will pick up what I do in the space? There are some beautiful young and up-and-coming women that are starting to make their mark in the world, and I am very fortunate to be able to push opportunities their way.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
it's beautiful to hear someone speak so warmly about nurturing their successes. So for all the young women, the young Indigenous women that you mentor now, and perhaps those who don't know you personally, who may watch this video at some point. What do you say to them about how they get on this leadership journey or this board journey as you have expressed it?
Take every opportunity that comes your way and work it out later. There's been many a times where I've said, I can do something. And then I'm like, oh, can I? But I can. I often doubt myself, even though I know that, I can deliver upon things, but just take it. Don't doubt yourself. You've got so many other supportive women that are around you that will help you, that will make it happen, that will walk alongside you to ensure that you don't fail. We're all here to support one another. We are all on this journey together, and it's up to us to make sure as women we champion for each other and we make sure that other women are sitting around tables they need to be at.
That's a very high note to conclude this interview on. I feel inspired and energised by your energy. Nicole, thank you so much for spending time with us today. It's been an absolute joy meeting you and having a few conversations, and I hope that I will see you proceed to the United Nations and do all those things that you dream about. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Belinda.
Okay.